Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, folks. And for the next 2 hours, you're going to get some of the greatest and latest hot talk when it comes, or hot takes, I should say, but everything Xbox. We're going to be talking about Pete Hines announcing his retirement. That happened as breaking news. We got a couple of really spicy hot takes that I want to get into. We're also going to talk about, well, this is Xbox. Now, you saw by my thumbnail, right? It didn't have any markings for the Xbox Factor podcast. It simply had 5 of the most legendary, greatest heroes in gaming, and they're all Xbox first party. And we were literally just talking about that momentarily, folks. The IP that Microsoft has under their leadership, under the banner of Xbox Game Studios, is just ridiculous. And look, right now, Sony is sitting in first place. Right now, Spider-Man 2, 91 meta. Cannot wait to play it. I don't care if it's 20 hours. I don't care if it's 30 hours. This is a week of weeks for gaming. You got a new Sonic. You got a new Mario. You got a new Spider-Man, and I'm sure a ton of other things as well. Great time to be a gamer. Too many games, folks. Literally, there are too many freaking games.
For sure,
but
bro. For sure.
We're going to entertain you. We're going to drop some hot opinions. Hopefully, you stay around for the 2 hours. Hopefully, you hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed, folks, please consider subscribing. We are on the hunt now for 14K. We are 13.5 and change. And it would be pretty dope to hit that by the end of the year. And you can help us by getting there, by hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button. And if you're a generous gamer, if you are a caring type of gamer, you hit the bell icon. So every time I go live, you know about it. But let's get into the introductions. Steve Money, how are you, my friend? Love the setup in the background. I have exactly what you have. It's in front of me. You can't see it. I got the Doomslayer helmet. I got Master Chief. I got a custom Batman. I got a Hulkbuster armor. You can't see any of this stuff because, well, I'm podcasting out of the corner of my apartment.
You got to put a mirror behind you, Boom.
Maybe I can put a mirror. How are you doing? And how's the family doing?
Family's great, man. We're doing well. We're excited. Got a lot of big things going on at the channel, so we've been having a lot of fun. Excited to be here, man. I love kind of getting to hang out with you and our boy Danny and Umbra and just chilling with the Boom family out here. We're pumped, man. I'm ready to go. I'm excited. Got a lot of hot takes of what's going on.
I don't think this has been a better year for Xbox gamers. And it's funny.
Easy. Someone
had posted something that was similar to that, and it really does tell the tale of 2023, Danny. Xbox on the highest of highs. They've put out tons of bangers, tons of first-party content. Game Pass continues to deliver. Oh, and PS, by the way, announced 5 minutes ago, Dead Space remake in Xbox Game Pass. Yes! If you don't have that game, if you haven't played it, play it with the headphones, lights off, get scared, wear the diaper. You're going to poop your pants, no doubt about it. It's just as good as the original. And almost like the other side of the coin, Daniel. Yeah. Sony having one of its worst years in its gaming history in 2023. Bad decisions, people leaving left, right, and center, peripherals coming out that are sitting on shelves collecting dust. One first-party game. It's not looking good for SIE. But, Daniel, how are you feeling, kind sir?
I'm doing great. Got some work done recently. Just having a pretty good week. It's been great.
Excellent. Well, it's great to have you here, and it's great that you're having a good week because we're going to get some really good hot takes from you, being that you're nice and centered. And last and no least, the best voice in the business, his R&B album, folks, is coming soon. Infinite Umbra, what's going on, my brother? How you feeling?
Ready for it. We're ready for it.
Why don't we come till the end of the... I'm sorry. I had to live.
Oh damn, I was jamming already, bro.
Were you about to light a lighter up for me?
I was ready, yo. I was like
Oh man.
2 seconds away from flicking it, bro. Damn.
Good morning.
Well, that was pause. That came out wrong. That came out wrong, fam. Holy shit.
Oh man, no, I'm good. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, it's good to be here with you fellas as well, all the time. Obviously. Yeah, I'm happy, man. I am tired. I will admit that though. I only just got in like maybe 20 minutes ago, but
Oh wow.
I am excited to talk games with you guys, of course, as usual. So yeah, let's do this.
Well, listen, folks, let's open up C Money with what happened yesterday. Obviously, Pete Hines, who is one of the big leadership aspects of Bethesda. He has been with the company for 24 years. He announced yesterday, in for some people, shocking news. For others, not so much, that he is retiring. We don't know what his next goal is going to be, other than what he said in his retirement speech. Folks, if you want me to read it verbatim, I can do it. I have it queued. But we talked about it yesterday because obviously on the Xbox lunch break special, it was in fact breaking news. So 24 hours have passed since the announcement, and there is one community member that I really kind of want to shout out in a big way, and that is Fuzzy Belvedere. He had an amazing, thought-provoking take, not only on yesterday's show, but he also talked about it on last night's FSP, which of course is the fun speculation show that Mav and the guys do on Monday evening. I listened to that this morning, actually while I was doing my wash, and it was a phenomenal show. And he doubled down on his opinion. And C Money, I don't know whether or not you got a chance to listen to yesterday's show, but you might be on the same wavelength, because now Pete Hines, he is going to be replaced. Who's going to replace Pete Hines? I don't know. But some of the takes that I've seen in the community, and we're not being disingenuous, we're not poking fun. He's retiring. He's going to enjoy himself. And I said it yesterday, and I will say it again today. He is leaving on the highest of highs, because yes, Redfall under his banner, under his supervision, didn't do as well as it should have done, and a lot of people consider it to be a failure. Is that a Pete Hines problem? Yeah, indeed it is. But he did also release the greatest selling Bethesda game of all time in Starfield, and of course that is when he's leaving. And I don't think you could leave at a better time, seeing the excitement and the prospect of this new IP that is going to live on potentially for generations. You have a very interesting theory that I completely missed when I read what he said on his way out the door. See, Money, let's talk about it.
All right. So yeah, for sure. So this was a little shocking for us as well. It actually, it happened during our show yesterday. It kind of broke in the morning, and we read the thing. We read his letter or his message that he put out there, and I was reading it and going through it, and it became very obvious something was missing. And it kind of leads into everything that I feel took place with this guy, right? So Pete, listen, first of all respect to Pete, right? Because he's been there for everything with Bethesda, and he's been a part of it from essentially the beginning. And he's helped them get to where they got before Xbox bought them. And he's been a great leader in that respect. But we do know, based off of like emails that from the trial and stuff that came out, that he was not a happy camper. We also know just from tweets that he got involved with people bitching at him about the game not coming, and him trying to excuse why it's not coming to PlayStation, or he wishes it could come to PlayStation but he can't. Like he kind of got exposed in that way, and then he was very upset that ABK games are the way they put it out there that they were going to be multi-plat still, and his games, are exclusive and blah blah blah. So we kind of had an idea about him, right? But when I go ahead and I think about the letter that he put for his retirement, this is a guy who loves Bethesda, right? Lives, breathes Bethesda. He loves them with all his heart. Great, right? I believe that. But the reason why I feel like this was not a simple just I'm retiring because I've been here long enough situation is that he in the lowest of lows of Bethesda, which is where they were when Xbox bought them, right? They were kind of floundering, right? Their direction was all messed up. They were going into games of service because the single player games weren't hitting, right? They're critically great, but not, financially. So in the lowest of lows, Xbox came and saved the company that he loved, right? Saved the company that he loved and went ahead and allowed them to take their time to make Starfield what it was. And let's be clear, if Xbox did not buy Bethesda, Starfield would not be the game it is today. Okay. Um, but Xbox did all this from, and in his retirement letter that he did, he talked all these beautiful things about Bethesda, but not one time did he mention the word Xbox in that letter. He didn't find a need to thank them for, helping with Starfield, because let's be real, Xbox was involved with Starfield towards the end there. He didn't bring them up whatsoever. He just completely ignored the idea that Microsoft even existed. So if you think about that, right, you think that he's retiring, so he's leaving, he doesn't care. And he doesn't even have I would say, I would use the word decency to even bring up Xbox in the slightest way. Thank you for, being there for us. Thank you for helping us move forward. Thank you for, whatever you wanted to say. But that leads me to believe that this wasn't just a matter of him just saying, I'm retiring. I think Redfall was a big deal for Phil. I think Phil was the leader that he needed to be. He went on XCast. He took the bullets. He fell on the sword. He ate it, right? He was the only one responsible. He didn't blame P. Hines. He didn't blame Bethesda. He didn't blame Arcane. He just said that it was his fault. He should have been more involved. Didn't set the right expectations for the studios. So I feel like that was actually a big change because Phil made it clear that that was not going to happen again, right? That he has now learned that they need to be more involved. And let's be clear, P. Hines is in charge of like the word on the street, right? Like what we see from Bethesda, he's ahead of that, right? He's okaying what is going to be put out there for Bethesda. And Redfall, it had to go across his desk that he was showing 60 frames per second out there. Meanwhile, he knew we weren't going to get 60 FPS. He also knows that he was showing certain situations that just didn't play out like that when the whole game released, right? So I think Phil went in there and said, "Hey, Pete, like, listen, going forward, whatever you're doing is cool, but I need that to run through me now." Or somebody, maybe Matt Booty or whoever he put in place and gave somebody that Pete had to go get okays from. And I think Pete, being an old head there who was there forever and, pretty much had no one above him outside of the owner and maybe Todd, that he was able to kind of have free reign and now being kind of reined in and now going from making decisions on your own, never have to worry about it because it's your decision and blah, blah, blah. And the owner got your back, so he's not going to come and yell at you or do anything because he trusts you, to having Phil say, listen, man, like everything is good. Like you can do what you got to do, but I need to okay it, or somebody needs to okay. We need to know what's happening before it happens. I think Pete said, you know what? I'm good. I'm not going to be part of this for this long to have you guys come here now and start telling me how am I going to do my job. And he bounced. And the reason I feel that is because he was bitter as fuck because he did not. I'm sorry for cursing. He was bitter for not mentioning Xbox, dude. Like Xbox saved them, bro. Saved them. Like this is just the facts of what it is. Ghostwire Tokyo did crap on PlayStation. Deathloop did crap on PlayStation. If Xbox did not buy these Bethesda, these studios could
Well,
be
I mean, look
closing
what
right
happened prior to those games coming out, C-Money. So you're really onto
Yeah.
something here, and I
Yeah,
want you to
man.
continue forward because you're really dropping some bricks here. They were forced to make games as a
Yeah, these
service
games as
titles
service, yep.
that they normally didn't do. And the two
Yep.
failures at the time were the Wolfenstein with the daughters, which is
Yep.
I hated. I hated it. Okay, not
Which
because they're
sucks because
female
that
leads.
was so exciting.
No, nothing to do with
And
that.
it was garbage.
It just was it felt rushed. It wasn't polished like we know
It was forced. That's
right.
what it felt.
And
It felt
Fallout
forced.
76, which I admit that right now I bought for the power armor helmet. I didn't buy for the game. I have the power helmet. It's right there. It's one of my favorites. I bought it for that because I knew that I wasn't going to play an MMO, but I'm like, all right, I'll try it. And it was atrocious. Now it's better now, yes.
Yep.
But you got to remember they were in trouble. And you're on to something.
Yeah.
Please continue.
They were literally the year before talking about the whole hashtag save single player or whatever, because that was their bag. And then again, Bethesda has not had issue with critical success, but it has all their critical success has equaled dog shit for them because they don't sell games outside of Todd. Todd has always been their big seller, right? And they rest on that. But everybody else, they make a great game, but they don't get purchased. Again, they were in such a bad way. They got desperate. They're basically doing what Sony is doing now, right? Sony is the single player masters in their mind, right? And then now, even though those are phenomenal games critically for what PlayStation needs, these games don't sell. They don't sell in a way that PlayStation needs them to sell. So they're going ahead and getting into this games as a service bullshit. They're following the same thing that Bethesda did. That's probably what leads me to believe that they're eventually going to get bought just like Bethesda did. But the point is, they were in that bad space. Xbox came, bought them, relieved them. Okay, relieve the stress from the developers, put trust in them, and again, we can call it what we like, whatever we want, right? Boom, I know you put tons of hours into Redfall. I really enjoyed Redfall. I don't think it's a garbage game, but that being said, it did not hit critically, right?
It could have been if this would have been a single player focused game with backup characters, right? Like
Exactly.
that would be with you. And it was what we expected from that studio. It could have been 50 times better.
Yeah, just like Gears of War, right? Gears of War, you're your main character, but you have a lot of times you have 2 other AI or 3 AI with you. You're with your squad, and that could have been the game, and there would have been no problem. But because they had they were forced by Bethesda at the time to go into this games as a service nonsense. This is what we got, and obviously Microsoft coming in, they stripped all of it out, but it's not the same as developing the game the right way the first time, right? So again, at the end of the day, Pete made it very clear, because anybody with any decency would have brought up Xbox in some way, shape, or form. I'm leaving, but Bethesda's in good hands. Xbox has been so supportive over these last 3 years that we've been with them. Sky's the limit. Can't wait to see what they do together. Anything. But he didn't. He chose not to, and it's because of what happened. And I could only imagine that as Phil went in there, let him know that shit's not going to be the same way, because Bethesda games are not Bethesda games. They're Xbox games. And that's why when we saw this ABK trailer that we all loved and were so emotional about, Bethesda games were in the trailer, but they have stopped talking about Bethesda separately.
Yes.
They stopped it because they know that people do not look at them separately, so it's not worth talking about them separately. They are now owned by
under the
Xbox.
umbrella of Xbox Game Studios. That's just the bottom line. Regardless of how many publishers Xbox buys, and this is not it, folks. And I think no, it's not. It's Listen, dude, you have knocked a grand slam out to open up this show, because everything that you're saying are things that I did not think about when this was first announced. I mean,
I got you,
absolutely
Boom. Don't worry about
fantastic. Literally
Absolutely.
knocked it out of the park. I do want to bring in Daniel McGee, and I want to grab his opinion on this, because if there's one thing that is a finite point to the way C Money dropped this crazy knowledge, is that the culture of Xbox has changed. And what do I mean by that? Is it corporation number one? No, they're for the people, by the people, right? That's why they're allowing unions for the first time in gaming history, right? But they are not apologetic about wanting to buy more studios and more publishers. And I don't know if that's the culture that Pete Hines wanted to be a part of, but I think that one of the most important aspects of his stepping off letter, if you will, retirement letter, is the fact that he did not thank Xbox for jumping in and saving Bethesda, who was being forced by investors to be a different type of company. And they failed. They failed at Fallout 76. They failed at Redfall, which was in being made before Microsoft purchased them. And that was because they were failing in the single player thing. What do you think here? Because look, I have in front of me what a lot of people were talking about yesterday, and that was his apology to PlayStation players. That did not sit really well with a lot of Xbox gamers, because when Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo were made exclusive because they needed to get the bag to keep the company running, right, before Microsoft purchased them, there were no apologies. There were no. I don't think there would have been an apology from him if Starfield would have ended up as a permanent PlayStation exclusive, right? I don't think so, because remember that's confirmed facts, folks. That's why Microsoft stepped in and said, you know what, we're just going to buy you, because we cannot keep losing these games. Phil Spencer said it himself. So here, Daniel, here are the two things that did not sit well. Not with me. Listen, he's a businessman. He's got to pay the mortgage. He's got to pay his people. The insurances have to be paid. People got to eat. You got to do what you got to do to feed your family. And obviously, Bethesda was and will always be family to Pete Hines. But here are the two quotes. And I pulled this from GamesRadar.com. It says this: if you're a big fan of the stuff we make and a game that we're making is no longer available on your platform, I totally understand if you're unhappy or pissed or whatever. Like, I get it. Those are real feelings and frustrations. How should you deal with that? I haven't the foggiest idea. I would never presume to say, oh, here's how you can make it better and feel better. I don't know how to ally the fears and concerns of PlayStation 5 fans, other than to say, well, I'm a PlayStation 5 player as well, and I've played games on that console, and there's games that I'm going to continue to play on it. But if you want to play Starfield, PC and Xbox, sorry. All I can say is I apologize, because I'm certain that that's frustrating to folks, but there's not a whole lot that I could do about it. I mean, again, he apologized for him being again.
Noise.
It annoyed a lot of people. Obviously, C Money's in his feelings over it, because he shouldn't be apologizing for a business decision. Folks,
Dude, he could only retire because of the bag that Microsoft dropped on Bethesda. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, when you spend nearly $8 billion,
that's crazy,
Daniel, on a publisher like Bethesda, you're going to make business decisions to keep certain IPs behind your walled garden, and you have every right to do it. What are your kind of takeaways from what C Money had to say? Do you have your own thoughts and theories? And ultimately, what does this mean for Bethesda that Pete Hines is now retiring?
Well, I think Bethesda will be fine. Like, he's just the guy in charge of like making sure the games come out on time and stuff like that. Like, they can just find another businessman to fill that role. I'm sure that he's already been training a replacement for him, and I'm relatively confident we'll hear about who that is really soon. So I'm not concerned about Bethesda at all. I also don't think that there's anything weird about this retirement. Like, I was really surprised to hear C Money and the rest of you say that you thought that this was because of some like conspiracy theory that he hated Xbox and all that stuff. I think that's don't think that makes any sense.
Oh, I don't think he hates Xbox at all. No, I don't think that's what even what some C Money was saying. No.
Weird.
Yeah, I don't think so though. It's like this apology that he put out. This is not a real apology. This is him being like, look, guys, it's not coming to your platform. Sorry, not sorry. Like, that's what he's saying, right? And I think that the reason that he put this out and not when things were exclusive to PlayStation is probably because he got more blowback for this. When Xbox people don't get a game on their platform, people don't really complain about it that much because we're kind of used to it. Like, stuff misses Xbox all the time. Like, we don't blame Bethesda when PlayStation buys something exclusively from them. We blame PlayStation. But when anything misses PlayStation, it's the end of the world for a PlayStation gamer, and they yell at Bethesda or whoever else endlessly. And so
so true.
Probably got a lot more shit talk, and he had to show up and be like, oh, by the way, my internet's not doing well, so if I start cutting out a lot, that's why. I don't know what's going on today. My computer's just like kind of eating a turd, but it's crazy. But I think that he put out this apology just because he was getting so much more blowback from this. And you know, the way that that you read that apology is not even like a real apology. He's just like, look, dudes, I understand that it's not coming to your platform. You're pissed about that. I'm not going to do anything to fix it. So here's the reality of the situation. Sorry, bud. Right? Like,
yeah, but he kind of could have done that in like that much of like that many words. He wrote like a freaking 2-paragraph, like this crazy long dissertation that Boom just read to say the same thing, right? Like, if he really didn't give a shit and he was just saying like, sorry, not sorry, it would have just been a matter of, hey guys, sorry, Bethesda got bought. The game is exclusive now, you know, sorry.
Yeah, but that's basically what he said, though, is he basically was just like, hey, like, these were things that used to come to your platform and they're not coming to your platform anymore. And that does suck. And like, that does suck. Like, there are people who only play on PlayStation who are normal people. I know that we don't see a lot of them.
There's plenty of average gamers that is just like, their one console.
Well, it's 90% of their fan base are casual gamers who can give a shit about PlayStation. So yeah,
and so like, if there's people who are already bought into that ecosystem, and then all of a sudden these games that they maybe really love aren't coming over to that platform, sort of without warning, because like, I don't think anyone would have expected anyone to buy a publisher, then like, that does kind of suck for them. For like the normal people who can only afford one console, like, that's a bummer for them.
It's also a bummer for us that we didn't get to play Deathloop and, you know, Ghostwire Tokyo.
Well, I'm not saying that like it's a bad thing. I'm just saying like, it's a bummer for them. Like, from their perspective, it kind of sucks. And so I think that he was coming out and being like, hey man, like, this is the situation. It's a bummer that it's happening because there's a lot of PlayStation gamers, and the majority of them are probably normal human beings who are not going to have access to these games anymore. And like, that's a bummer for you. We needed this money, and we're going to continue to do this. It was very clearly the right decision. Like, he didn't seem to have any problem with the acquisition happening. I think that he just caught a lot of flack for the games going exclusive, even though like, that should have been obvious from the rip that was going to happen. I also think there was a lot of like copium and people just like holding out hope that these games were going to not be exclusive to Xbox, and it's like, well, why would they have bought it, dude? Like, I don't know. Like, there was so much misinformation circling around Bethesda games at the time they were purchased, where like, there are people who still to this day think Starfield is going to come to a PlayStation. That's not going to happen. Yeah. And so I think that also part of this apology was him like telling people that was not going to happen. Like, just coming out and being like, these games are exclusive. I'm sorry, they're only on Xbox and PC. Like, that's what it is. They're not coming to any other platforms. They're not going to be on Switch. They're not going to be on PlayStation. I really do just think that the man made a shitload of money off the acquisition and was like, okay, I'm going to hang out until Starfield comes out, and then I'm going to get out of here. Because we've been seeing him lately, like, basically since they were acquired by Xbox, he's been taking a lot of flack for all kinds of stuff. Like, he's getting blamed for Redfall, which might be true. He's getting blamed for all of the previous stuff that was not his fault, like the fact that they all went like always online type shit. Like that was the board of directors.
No, that was a
not his
board
fault.
decision. That had nothing to do with him. Absolutely.
And
yeah,
there's something to be said about going first party with any group means that you're going to take a lot more trash talk, like just across the board. And he's probably really upset about that. And he's probably really upset about the fact that now his games are being even more harshly criticized just by the fact of the matter of them being a first party title. Like he probably hates that. So yeah, it is a lot more stress. And he's probably looking at the money he got and he's like, I don't need to do this. Like, I'm not having fun anymore. I'm getting shit on constantly for stuff that is not my fault. And he probably made like what, 10-20 million dollars off of the acquisition. Like he's one of the highest ranking people at Bethesda. So he's probably like, there's no reason I need to stay here.
No,
like I have my money. I can just 100%. Hang out and play video games now.
Yeah. Or he said he's going to explore other interests. He's probably gonna start a new hobby or something. He's gonna He's gonna travel maybe. Obviously, he has his family. Whittling.
I see him pop up over at PlayStation. It's going to be a problem.
Yeah, he's not.
Well, there's some people that actually have been suggesting that. Yeah, actually, somebody in the chat literally said, "Oh, they're a PlayStation fan," which of course everyone is welcome here. Even if you're a PlayStation only fan, you can come and hang out and have an opinion. You don't get shunned because we have really good chat here. But he said, well, it would be great for Pete to head over to PlayStation, maybe head up that, take over for Jim Ryan and work on, better produced games. And listen, Sony makes great games. No one's arguing that. But they're in a bit of a tailspin. I don't think that you're going to see Pete Hines end up there. If they do, great for PlayStation, wonderful for PlayStation, a tremendous hire. I just don't see it happening. But please continue, Daniel.
Yeah, I just think the man retired. I don't think there's any like weird conspiracy to it. I think he was just sick of all the flack he was getting, and he was like, I don't need to do this. Like I have all the money in the world. He does not need to do this. I don't need to do this. Xbox can handle it. Like it's all fine. The same
thing about Jimmy Boy.
Like
he don't need to do this.
But there's a wild difference between the way that Pete Hines retired and the way that Jim Ryan retired. Where Jim Ryan retired and no one said a damn thing. Like no one in the industry said anything. I think Phil Spencer maybe, right? Pete Hines retired and everyone over at Xbox was like, it's sad to see Pete go. We really love Pete. Like you saw it from Todd, you saw it from Phil, from Sarah. Like every person there was like, man, he's a great guy. Like we love him. And then all of the people in the media, same thing. Like they were talking about their memories with him and like all the cool stuff that they had done with Pete over the years. I think specifically I saw kind of funny tweets and stuff out. Like people are not necessarily sad, I guess, but they're like, it's going to be a bummer to not see him in the industry anymore. Like he's a cool guy and we'll miss him. Whereas when Jim Ryan retired, it was just like, all right, nah, hey, goodbye. Like that was the vibe. Like no one was upset that Jim Ryan retired.
That's true.
Not a single person.
True. No one cared. No, but I think you could
cancel him.
Yeah, like cancel him and shit. Yeah, I think you could
fired him out of a
cannon. Somebody who looks at it and thinks it's cool, like, oh man, it sucks that Pete's gone, but it's like Phil saying it sucks that Pete's gone can also mean, well, it sucks that Pete didn't want to get in line and go with the new way that we want things going, because we do know it's a difference, right? Like we can say that we can just kind of glaze over and just be like, he's been there 24 years. Some would argue, why would you not leave at 25, right? Because 25 is like the retiring year. But at the same time, right, you look at it and you say, we know it's going to run differently than how he's been running it for the last 24 years.
Yeah.
Right. Like
and that might be
Phil made that clear. And it's just like, now that he finished Starfield, before he gets caught up in another game that he's going to have to deal with this new oversight that is going to be there, because Phil already made it. He already made it known. He made it known that they got to know that they're first party Xbox. They're not Bethesda anymore. They're first party Xbox first. And it's just too convenient that for no reason, again, a year before your 25th, which he's not going to release a game like that big or whatever in the next year.
There's really no point of him lasting that extra year. I don't know what Bethesda's even putting out this year. I wouldn't expect.
I mean, I think they already shot their load for now. I mean, we have like ID.
There's the rumors that they might be putting out their like Doom.
Yeah, them and Indiana Jones is probably going to be next year. But it's like,
I don't expect
why not wait for that?
No, I don't expect it, but it could.
I mean, in those leaked documents, everything got pushed back 2 years that ended up releasing, and Indiana Jones was supposed to be 2022. Now it looks like 2024. But, you know, obviously we don't know. That's just based off of the leaks. I don't know. I think there's so much lined up, and I know it's easy to kind of, you know, be like, oh, I don't know why people are thinking about it, but at the same time, it's kind of like what we're doing here, right? Let's dig deeper.
Yeah, but that's like
let's scratch
the thing about it though
you
is
know?
like I feel like we do this every time somebody retires, and sometimes it's warranted. Like Bonnie Ross was clearly like, "Hey, can you leave?" And I think the same thing with Jim Ryan. And I think when you look at those situations, you can see like there was a lot of problems here, and this person needed to go. The only reason that I think that people are even looking at this with Pete is because I think he did have frustration with the being purchased, but I don't think it was specifically about going exclusive. I think that from those court documents, I think the things he was more concerned about was just a lack of communication. Like I think it was weird that he had to specifically ask in an email, like, "Hey, are all of our games exclusive? Because like, what's the situation? Like, why us and not Activision?" Like, I think
you see that.
I think it was frustration, but
I think
the way he said it though is what caught me.
It's again,
I do agree with you though, Danny, but at the same time, how he said it is what caught me.
You know what, Daniel, we'll come back to you in a hot second. Let Ember please take the lead right there, because it's what you just said and how he said it. That's a bit of a conundrum.
That's the exposure.
Yeah, because
and you know, Z Black Writer, a good friend of the program, said this in the chat just seconds ago before that comment was made. If I went from number 3 to 30 on the totem pole, I'd bolt as well. And possible. Obviously, deal, look, I think Phil is going to run a very, very tight ship. And I think that past failings, one of which that you said it, C-Money, he had to go out on Kind of Funny. Remember, this was scheduled months before, because that's how it works with someone in his position. You got to get the PR, and it's months to get him there. And even Paris Lilly was like, yeah, I don't think we're going to get Phil today because of what happened. And he went out there and he took all the arrows and he threw himself on the sword, and he had to answer for Redfall's failings. Things are not, like I said, this is my personal opinion, folks, whether you believe me or you don't. I honestly think that the Redfall situation will be the last time that ever happens again under Phil Spencer, because of how much flack he had to take. He took all of the flack for Pete Hines, who was the leader at Bethesda. Them, okay,
he took that on the chin, and we talked about that before on the fix when how mad Phil was. Like,
he was mad.
Very really
Grumpy Phil, as he called himself.
Absolutely, and he was very direct. You could see it. Like, you could see he was upset that it happened, and that he even allowed it under his watch. But that we know that wasn't directly linked to Phil himself. That's not his specific job. If anybody, that would be Pete Hines, and maybe you could possibly squeeze that off to Matt Booty. And it's another guy actually at Bethesda who actually oversees it. I can't remember his name right now, but it definitely wasn't Phil's fault. But for him to be the leader and take that on the chin, I thought it was the right thing to do. It was a smart thing to do. But you could tell he was ticked. And I agree with you. I think that'll be the last time something like that happens as well. But for me, when it comes to Pete Hines, and I agree with a lot of what both of you guys said, I think my thing for Pete is, and I think he's a good guy. I gave him a good message on his retirement tweet and all of that or whatever. Just told him, enjoy your retirement. I think it's very coincidental that he happens to retire right now. It's like right after you're absorbed, right after, Starfield releases. Oh, hey, I'm going to retire now. Seems a little opportune. And the reason I say that also is because it does. And it's because just a year ago, he was made head of publishing, just 1 year ago. And now you're retiring. Seems a little odd.
Why would you take that job? That's so stupid.
It's very,
you're going to retire.
Agreed. And it's like all of a sudden now you're going to retire that fast. And you still have and this is on the eve of them working on Elder Scrolls 6. I would think that he would want to be there for that to come out. So I find it a little odd. He's been with them since 99. I just find it a little odd, the timing of that. Then you look at the information we got because of the ABK situation and leaked documents and things of that nature, and you see what he wrote in that email. And it's again how he said it is what I focused on. I think you were right, Danny, but I think how he said it is what made me. Well, I think perked up most of our eyebrows and ears and made us look like because it seems a little. How do I put this? I don't want to say insubordinated or anything, but
No.
it seemed a little more aggressive than I would have expected.
Yeah, like who you
some
talking
people
to,
suggested
dog?
not
Exactly.
being a
We
team
just
player.
bought you, son. We just bought you.
Yeah, Infinite Number. I heard the term not a team player.
Well,
Being
I
used.
I don't even want to say team
feels
player.
like he was bigger than he was, and now that
Exactly.
Xbox owns him, his position got diminished.
That's my
And
thing. I don't
he's a
think it's
little butthurt
necessarily a
about it.
team player thing. I think it's like he maybe had been used to them being an independent company, right? And now that they're owned by Microsoft, and now they're getting their directives and information elsewhere, and their communication might not have been up to par to his standards. Maybe he's like, hey, no, this is not cool. I'm used to this. That's why I agree with Danny on that part. But I think how he said it gives us a little bit more on how he really felt. And going also to the apologies that he threw out there that I at the time even had issue with. I was like, why are you apologizing to our Hoof brothers? You would not apologize to us.
Hooligans.
These hooligans.
Hooligans.
Damn, these hooligans. No, but like I feel like you do, Boom, when that if had it been, and Danny, I think you hit it right on the head. We are used to not getting some stuff, right? So we'll complain, but it falls on deaf ears.
Yes.
And typically we'll point our finger right at Sony, but that doesn't change much for us.
Yeah.
But when it's the PlayStation guys, because they outnumber us, they complain, there's going to be some people to hear it. It is So I think you might be right that he got that pressure put on him, and he wasn't used to that.
A new phrase in this instance. The Bethesda acquisition was a clop stopper, right? How do ponies move around? They clop, right?
Right.
It was
nice. Nice.
It was a situation where they're prancing around having a good time, and all of a sudden they bought who? Clop stopper.
Right.
That's how I've been talking about it in my head.
And then you look at that email he said, and he bolded. He said, "Did anyone at Xbox think about giving us a heads up on this?" Yep. Todd's going to DICE in a couple of weeks. You don't think a journo might find him and press him on why the below is okay for COD or any Activision Blizzard game, but not the Elder Scrolls 6 or Starfield?
Right? Is media people kept asking him, and like also Phil and other people, but like constantly asking, "Hey, is this Bethesda game going to be exclusive? Is this going to be exclusive?" It's like, yeah, dude, we said that. We said that a lot.
It was. Right.
Yeah.
What else do you need to know? And that's why I said, like, when he said that, it's like, brother, you already got the information you needed. They said it's exclusive. You tell the audience if they ask you that, or if they ask Todd, yeah, it's exclusive. Yeah. The end. What else do you need?
Well, I mean, Aaron said it. Sarah Bond said it. Phil Spencer said it. Todd Howard
had a whole
said
conference where it showed it exclusive.
Yeah. They said places where Game Pass exists.
Right. What else do you need to know?
They said it over and over.
You all had a round table. Did you forget what you said there, or like you forgot the memo?
He just butthurt about ABK.
I don't think it's that he forgot. I think it's that everybody else wasn't listening. Like,
I guess
people still to this day are still being like, "Oh well, Elder Scrolls 6 is going to come to PlayStation." It's like, no, it's not. Starfield didn't come. It's not coming. They bought that company. It's going to be exclusive. That's how it is.
Get used to it.
So I think that we're going to see more instances of people having to come out and being like, yes, this is still exclusive. Like, we're going to continue seeing, like, IGN just reposted that Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be exclusive.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, dude, no shit.
They keep posting it. It's like they kind of wish it until the PlayStation ecosystem or something.
Well, I mean, obviously, look, when it comes out, it's going to get a 7 from them. I don't care how good the game is, because it's going to get a 7 because Dan, what's his name, already said it. He said that if Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield are held hostage or exclusive to Xbox, there will, in capital WILL, be industry repercussions.
Yeah.
So he said it. He put it out on Front Street. I have the tweet. I saved the receipts. Elder Scrolls, whenever it comes out, is going to get a 7. I don't care how good it is from IGN. That's just, you just expect it. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is.
You know, we have our beefs with Ryan McCaffrey, some of us, and still hold on. I still have some issue with some of the things he said, but it looks like Ryan McCaffrey and Destin are our only hopes there at IGN.
Well, yeah, literally, they're the only ones. Yeah, because everyone else is like, well,
shout out to Miranda.
I don't know.
Miranda's great. I love her. She's fantastic.
Yeah, but they got her in the background now. True. They took her out of the limelight, bro.
Yeah. Well, she's just really busy because she's been doing guides, and there's like a million games coming out right now.
they
True.
keep her really busy. Right?
Yeah, well, she's really
That's
good
very
at it,
easy to do.
unfortunately for her.
Like you can't be on the show, Miranda. You can't represent Xbox anymore because you got more work to do. They all got work to do. They all get time to take away to go do the show, and they shut her in the back. Like, oh, you actually really like Xbox? No. No. You stay in the back. We're gonna put about 16 other people to replace you who are on IG and
We'll
beyond.
need you to update that fact right there.
Yeah.
I will say about Podcast Beyond though, because I listen to it every week just because I want to hear what they got to say, even when it's stupid. Their last couple episodes have not been sugarcoating stuff for PlayStation. Like their last 2 episodes were titled PS5 Slim finally got announced and we're not impressed, and Last of Us 2 multiplayer has had more bad news than updates. So like, other than that one guy, like they are covering the news and like saying it correctly. They are PlayStation people for sure. Like that's why they're on that podcast. But that comes with a certain level of bias, I'm sure. But they're not being like, oh, actually, I love this little paperclip stand. Like they're being realistic to a certain.
Yeah, I have no problem with them. I also watch them here and there when I get a chance. But no, my thing is, it feels like, I mean, I don't think my old thing. I guess the old saying is, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Indeed.
And you continue having these issues with IGN, and we've all seen it, from them just outright ignoring putting Xbox as a platform to some of questionable scores here and there. You know, I think that there is something going on there, but you know, they're going to
for sure.
What about our other scores? Well, we gave it a 9 and 8.
Yeah, that's a stupid argument that they shouldn't bother making.
Pre-purchase, guys. Like, go F yourselves.
Well, the other thing about that is, like, if you really aren't, and we're kind of off topic at this point, but if you really aren't biased and you're IGN and you're continuously seeing people being like, why did you do this? Like, why did you do this anti-Xbox thing? And you're seeing that like what felt like every day for a couple weeks there. Why is your response like, no, we're not, and not like, oh, okay, how do we fix this? Mm-hmm. Like, if you're actually not biased, how do you fix the appeal or what the public opinion about like where you sit on the fence and sort of that situation? Like, why are you not finding ways to correct that, or being like, you're right, we're gonna fix this, whatever, we'll do this, this, and this, and
because they're not interested in doing
coming out. They don't care.
No, exactly. They're not interested in doing that. That's the problem, and that's why we can't ever like accept it. Like, I know you guys said that you guys still rock and listen to them. I gotta tell you, there's not a shot of me. I used to all the time, bro.
I used to be one of the people that pay the $30 a year to help them keep the lights on. Like,
I can't do it, bro.
Yes.
I just know I can't.
But I like Brian McCaffrey, right? Bro. I think he's made terrible statements and mistakes, like the whole debacle of the Tomb Raider thing on Xbox and then praised Final Fantasy. He put his foot squarely in his mouth. I told him that. He didn't block me, to his credit, but I told him flat out, hey, you put your foot in your mouth. You did say this, but I've been following Ryan since the official Xbox magazine days.
Yeah, me too.
The man is truly down for Xbox, right? But I have been disappointed on some things he said. Yeah, but they also have Khalif there now, and I think he's a good dude.
Khalif Adams is fantastic. I love that dude. That guy's phenomenal.
He might not be able to cook as his parents would tell us, but the brothers, he has some good taste.
Yeah, I know. But can we at least agree, like, the thing about, I think the problem with even wasting time watching one of their podcasts is the fact that at the end of the day, these, like, if I go to an Xbox podcast, right? Like, this is an Xbox podcast. I want Xbox head who are talking from the Xbox perspective, not like Khalif Adams is not an Xbox dude.
Right.
Like, he's not. His channel is not about Xbox. He does all gaming, right? Mm-hmm. Which is cool. But like, if I'm going to watch about Xbox, I don't want to hear opinions from people who are barely giving a shit about Xbox stuff. That's not why I went to the show.
I'll say this, right? I hear you on it, but I'll say this about them. Like, I hear you on it, but I'll say good, well-rounded thoughts on people who play on all type of platforms. I think that's fair too. And I think if you
but then you go to GameScoop, right?
Hold on, like GameScoop, even go to his tweets. He's even had points where he's defended Xbox and such. So I don't think he's unfair. I think if it was a matter that if he was unfair, I would have been like, yeah, I don't want this dude on here. He's pony propagandist, but he's not really doing that.
Not pony propaganda.
Yeah, he's been pretty fair. So I don't want to, tear the brother down.
But I'm saying that if I want a general view on the show,
have an issue with Ryan. I get that 100%. I'm not going to try to convince anybody on Ryan. I get that. Like, that ship has sailed. Yeah. I just give him more leeway because I've been following him for a while, and I think that he has been hooved pressured over there, but I think that
Yeah.
he still is an Xbox guy at the heart of it. I just think he's put his foot in his mouth one too many times for people, and I understand the people not listening to him 100%.
Well, you know
Listen,
what?
if they
Listen,
didn't
what I
have a
want to do is
general run,
I kind of want to just bring us back on the path here because we
Yeah.
went up a little bit. And listen,
Sorry.
IGN, they're going to
we
be
love the
who they-
bumpy roads, bro.
No, it's fine. Go back to Coach Green. They are who we thought that they were. Anyone remember that? I remember that, and because I enjoy football, and that's who IGN is. It's fine. The Pete Hines situation. I think somebody in the chat said that him and his wife are probably they save dogs, which I think is an amazing thing to do. If I don't know if he was being facetious or if that's actually something that he does outside of gaming, and I'm not sure, but if he does do that, that's freaking awesome because why not? He's a millionaire, folks. He's gonna retire. He should retire. I've been retired since 2014, and yes, once you get there, it is an amazing thing. Now, I'm not a millionaire, not even close. But I have a great.
That would be dope, though.
If I had that golden parachute, you would not catch me still
would
going
be
to work. I'm telling
amazing
you
to
right
have
now.
to have a nice
Me either.
big house, but it's fine. It's fine. We'll get there eventually. What I do want to do is I want to catch up on the super chats. I got a couple of channel member questions that I want to get to, and we're gonna take this to the main topic of the show, folks. And by the thumbnail, I simply put, this is Xbox Game Studios. Obviously, some of the greatest heroes that IP heroes that they have. That's just the tip of the spear. There is a lot to get into here, and we are going to get into the weeds here of how I personally believe by 2024, holiday of next year, the tides will have turned on Sony. They will no longer be the market leader, folks. I am here to tell you that 2024 is going to be as barren for PlayStation as 2023 has been because of where Jim Ryan left them. But we'll get to that in a hot second. Let me read, of course, the super chats here. First and foremost, we have a new channel member, Maniac Master. Brother, thank you so much for joining the channel. That is fantastic and very generous of you. Welcome. Black Helmet Man, who's been a channel member for 25 months. Bro, that is crazy. Thank you so much for supporting the channel for as long as you have. He says he was the head of marketing. Xbox probably took some of his marketing power away. I absolutely believe that they did. Yes, they do work independently to some extent, but now everything is through Phil Spencer. He is the head of Microsoft Gaming. Bethesda is a part of Xbox Game Studios. So ultimately, Phil Spencer, even though he's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, and I had the pleasure of meeting him last year, he's an absolute gentleman. What you see is what you get with Phil. This is a business, and he is now the guy running the ship. And I think that when you get this big, you got to tighten it up, and everything has to go through him because of what happened with Redfall. That's a perfect example. Sherman Jacobs in the chat drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "Hey Boom, hey panel, love you guys, and we love you too, brother. Thank you so much for the generosity and thank you for being here. I'm glad that you are in fact enjoying the weekly content." Jax82 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Question: what reason do you think Xbox made Elder Scrolls 6 exclusive when it's been played everywhere for years? Will Ghostwire, I'm assuming you mean Ghostwire Tokyo 2, be the same?" Because they spent $8 billion or near $8 billion. And Elder Scrolls is one of the biggest IPs that Bethesda owned. Elder Scrolls Online, you can still play. They're still getting updates, and they will continue to get updates with content for PlayStation, for PC, and wherever else you can play that game. For Elder Scrolls 6, I'm going to be honest with you. If you turn around and that game does, in fact, drop as a launch title for your next Xbox, whatever that is going to look like, that is going to sell millions and millions of consoles.
Oh, 100%.
So I would absolutely lock that up personally.
Yeah, well, they made it exclusive for the same reason that they bought it. Is they needed more games on their platform. Like people were getting really sick of the, I think was it Defining Duke, Maddie and Cog call it the burger fries and shake or something like that.
Yes,
the Halo, Gears, and Forza. People getting tired of that, and it was becoming like a negative thing. Even though I thought pretty much all those games were great, but whatever. They went out and they were like, we need more games. We need big IP right now. We've got the money to do it. We're going to buy these things and we're going to make them exclusive. And Elder Scrolls is the biggest thing over there. So yeah, they're going to keep it because that's exactly the reason why they purchased them.
Yeah, that's good. Great point. Let's see. We have Kyle Dweeb drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, to be fair, most of his career and work was done outside of Xbox. The retirement letter was Bethesda employees and people he worked with for decades. Yes, that is very true. And obviously, yes, he has been the face and the head of Bethesda for years. They have worked. If you look at who they've worked with, though, in those 24 years, it has been mostly Xbox. Yes, they were outside of Xbox Game Studios, which was a very small circle up until E3 of 2018. But yeah, you are onto a point there. I will say though, C Money does bring up a pretty interesting theory where in that entire, even though that letter is for the people of Bethesda, there is no separate letter or separate public remarks about I just want to thank Xbox for for what they did for us, because remember they were on the ropes. Money. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's
he's
fine.
Probably like 10 million he made off that deal.
He's probably made he's a millionaire. There's no doubt about it. Good
Even
on
more
you.
of a piece of crap that would make him. That honestly, dead ass. If I'm Phil and I just bought this building and I know what you just made because I bought the building, and then you're retiring and you don't have the decency to say one mother effing word. Thanks, Phil. Thanks, Phil.
I mean,
Phil. Hey, thanks, homie. I'm set for the rest of my life because you bought Bethesda. Thank you, homie. Yo, bro, that's stupid. Yo, that's so grateful. I wish his money just disappeared.
You know what I was surprised about, actually? Because I thought one of the things that they bought them was to retain like the talent, so nobody would vamp to. He
ain't got no talent. Ain't nobody worried about him.
Well, I don't want to trash him. But I'm just surprised though, because I know they had something like that in place for Todd Howard. So I wonder, I figured they would have had it for other employees too. But we also see the lead quest designer also leaving.
Yeah, he left. He's with a new studio, and according to Pong Soul, that is a game to look out for. Okay, apparently it's going to be something special.
Wait, Pong said it.
Pong said it.
If Pong said it, we can ignore that. If Pong said it.
Oh wow! Listening, I did not say that. I love you.
I'm just messing.
Slander.
I'm just messing.
Pong somewhere right now just felt it like slap on the back of the head.
What just happened? That stabbed me. Jax82 drops an additional very generous $2 super chat and says Phil takes it personal and doesn't like to fail. Indeed. Yes, absolutely. I agree.
No, I don't think anyone likes to fail.
A very generous $5 super chat and says, nobody likes to fail, especially in the big business. El Monte drops a generous $5 super chat and says, you know why Spider-Man didn't get a bad score? Because 90% of Xbox fans are not going to review bomb a PlayStation game. I mean, you listen, I put this out there a couple of weeks ago, and I said, listen, don't be like the PlayStation knuckleheads. Don't review bomb Spider-Man. I mean, do what you're gonna do. I don't care one way or another. I bought the most expensive edition. That's not the collector's edition because I didn't really like the statue.
You didn't want the 19 inches of Venom?
I didn't want 19 inches of Venom. No, I did not. I don't think I could take it, to be honest with you. Pause.
You gotta work on your pause.
You gotta try though, huh?
That's the second time. That's the second time you put your pause way.
You can work your way up to it. You don't got to start with all 19.
You got to get your pause game right.
Oh my goodness,
your pause game is a little delayed for me.
It was a little delayed pause right there. But listen, at the end of the day, look, I wish Pete Hines the best. If he's gonna listen. Whether he ends up at PlayStation, whether he goes and he starts like really doubling down on like saving animals, if that's something that's a true thing, I don't know. That's awesome. He's a millionaire. He's worked in a company for 24 years. He helped build this company. He has put a significant amount of his life into it. We wish him the best. Obviously, there's this is gonna come and go. He like many leaders before him and many other companies and positions. They're gonna leave. And they're gonna do other things, and someone's gonna step up. Bethesda's gonna be fine. Bethesda still has Todd Howard. I believe. Yeah,
one more thing to this is because I think the timing of him retiring makes a lot of sense if you really look at it from his perspective. Because look at it from like the time that they started the acquisition, right? Is one of his really close friends and direct bosses passed away, someone who was very beloved at the company.
Yep.
They're in a brand new era. They've just put out their biggest game ever. I think he's just like, it's time for somebody else to take up the reins of Bethesda. Like, I've done everything I can here. I've made my money. I'm good to go. I don't think we see him in gaming again. I think whatever he does next, I don't know if it's a dog shelter thing or if he goes and buys a franchise Subway. Like, I don't know. He's going to do something. But I don't think we see him in gaming again. I think he's done everything he can. And I think he's just like, my time here is gone.
I think you're right.
If all that other stuff didn't exist, I would be like, true. That makes a lot of sense. But the slander that he put out there in those emails, the baby ass apologies to these ponies, all that shit just makes everything that you say just that one notch below what I would say is possible. I feel like he's exposed too much to us. We've seen behind the curtain, Pete. We know what you feel. All right.
I mean, listen, you
didn't know anybody was going to read those emails, so we know that's what you really feel, fam. All right.
Well, I mean, a lot of people feel that way. But look, at the end of the day, he was not making the big decisions regarding Bethesda games any further because they're Microsoft property.
That's true.
And Microsoft property. Look, all you got to do is look at the way PlayStation has dominated the industry in the last 6 to 7 years. It has been because not only did they have incredible first-party games, they locked a lot of things up. I mean, for crying out loud, Spider-Man, the face of Marvel, one of the most recognized heroes in the world, folks, is behind a paywall that says PlayStation. I mean, for crying out loud, an Avengers game that was a multiplat, the Spider-Man, even though it wasn't what they wanted it to be, it wasn't like the Insomniac Spider-Man, the Spider-Man DLC was locked to PlayStation. That's crazy to me. So, look, at the end of the day, Bethesda is going to be fine. Elder Scrolls is going to be exclusive. And if you want to play it on your $5,000 rig or buy an Xbox or play it anywhere. But I do want to move on to the second topic. And this is the big one, folks, because this ABK deal is going. Obviously, listen, there's a lot of really hot big takes on this, right? It's the biggest deal in probably it's confirmed to be the biggest deal in Microsoft's history. It is the biggest deal in gaming history. It might be one of the biggest tech deals ever. It's monster for Xbox. Call of Duty, it's going to be here, there, and everywhere. That's amazing. Congratulations, world. But I'm here to tell you that the market leadership that Sony currently sits on, they have the reason why they're in trouble and potential trouble is because they rested on the same way they've been doing things for years. Making Xbox smaller, getting exclusive content, getting exclusive marketing rights, and one of the most and the biggest money-making schemes for Sony has been Call of Duty. That is going away. Yes, Call of Duty is going to sell a lot of copies on PlayStation in 2023. No doubt about it. But when Xbox can put that Call of Duty, whatever, on a box that says Xbox, the normies, the casual audience is going to move where the game is. And most importantly, listen, folks, I don't know what world you're living in. Everything has gone up. Everything is expensive. Food is expensive. Gas, rent, everything is expensive. And one of the first things that have to go if you are a family man or woman is entertainment. That is the first thing that has to be cut because it's something you can live without. Microsoft is making it available and making Xbox Game Pass so that everyone can afford to be a part of the conversation. And next year, folks, we know already 4 games that are going to be released. Avowed is coming out, whether that's the first half or the second half, followed by Hellblade, first half or second half. Towerborn, which I think is going to be a Game of the Year nominee, and we know that Call of Duty, the next Call of Duty, is in Game Pass day and date. That is 4. You might get Clockwork Revolution, you might get something smaller, you might get something bigger, but Microsoft has positioned themselves, and I'm going to go in reverse order here. Infinite Number, I want to go to you first on this. They have really set the stage to be one of the most dominant platforms in gaming and have some of the greatest IP under one banner. Let's talk about it, dude.
Yeah, I mean, they have tons. Like, so how do we want to position this, Boom? You want to talk about what they have? You want to talk about what can be made from this?
Either or, brother. I mean, it's a conversational podcast. Go crazy. Go in any direction you want, because no matter where you go, we're going to all end up at the same place. Xbox is going to be the market leader. That is a fact.
No matter where you go, there you are. You got to make a slogan out of that. But you know, the thing of it is, I think, like we talked about, there's so much to be talked about this, and a lot of this is potential for me. And Jazz had an article he wrote recently, and I'm sure if you all can hear this background noise, but here we go, Chicago.
Yeah, listen, it's just like New York, brother. Police sirens are always running.
Yeah. So Jazz had an article up about what potential games could come out of this and what would you like to see. So for me, one of the things, and I keep fluctuating because we had this talk the last week on the show too, when we talking about what could be done with some of these, from Tony Hawk and things like that to Tenshu being reborn and things like that, or being remastered. So that's a lot of my thoughts goes to that. I would definitely say there's so much room for them to get and capitalize off the IP that they're not utilizing. Hearthstone, the Warcraft, bringing WoW to Xbox. You know what I mean? There's so many ways to do it. I know people would say, well, how would they handle it when it comes to the subscriptions? And I guess you would handle it the same way that the ESO is doing it, right? Maybe you'll do it in a certain particular way. I look at the potential of what games can be made from it. I also wonder if Microsoft would go to that biannual release for COD, and maybe that would free up some of these studios that's working as helper studios for Call of Duty. We can get Raven, we can get the Toys for Bob to make their own things.
Yeah, dude.
Stuff like that. So that's the stuff that I'm really most interested in. And I guess it's so much to take in. Pause. You see how fast I hit that pause? Boom.
That was a quick pause. I gotta learn from that. I can't let the 19 inches slide and then wait a minute.
Oh yeah, pause on
it's
that
too
one.
late. It's already inside. It's paused.
That's it. You've accepted it. You can't unpause once it's happened. All right. All right. It's gone.
But I look at stuff like that, man, and I say, man, it's so much. You think of, even I know we were talking about it on so many different shows of what could happen. You know, people talk about what's the game with Mercer? The
Matt Mercer?
Yeah, Mercer. I know what you're talking about.
The prototype.
Prototype.
Yeah, dude. Oh my god, it's got to come back in a big way.
So you look at that, and I look at something like what we're talking about with Spider-Man now, and I am going to get Spider-Man. It looks good from what I've seen. Mm-hmm. But then I look at the stuff that Microsoft could do, because we often talked about what could be done for superhero gaming. Like we still talk about DC and them getting that license and getting WB. I still stand by that. I still want them to do that. And I think it would be wise to do that, getting Rocksteady, et cetera, et cetera. But you got a character like that and a franchise IP like that, with that they could do so much if they really push forward. And I think, honestly, I look at potential and I look at what cannot happen. 2022 can't happen again. I don't think they will let that happen
ever.
And the reason I say that too is not just that they need to bring in games, the past games that we've had, Activision has had, and bring them in the following months. But I feel like with as many studios as they have now, there is nothing that should allow that to a repeat of 2022. So I feel like they need to have and I'm sure they're going to do this, but they need to have a real sit down and say, hey, how do we revitalize this franchise? What about this? Hexen is cool. I know Phil wants that, but I need more than Hexen. I need StarCraft, Ghost. I need like I said, Hearthstone. I need WoW. I need Tenshu. I know they can't go forward with Tenshu, but they can absolutely remaster or remake past.
I would have them. Here's the thing. I mean, again, let's talk about it because you made mention of it. Tenshu is iconic. Maybe not for some people. Maybe you missed out on those years. I feel sorry for you if you did. Okay, but there is a space where Microsoft could go to Front Software and say, "Look, you own the franchise. We own the rights for these 3 games. Let's do a partnership. Let's bring back Tenshu on a level of Ghost of Tsushima." Like, could you imagine? And where this really gets exciting is there's no rush for the game. Take 5 years. We'll announce it when you're halfway through. We'll show a trailer. We'll get everyone excited, and there's no rush. That is the finite point about Xbox Game Studios right now. Nothing is needed today. Fable could take whenever it takes.
Agreed.
So that's a great, fantastic point.
And that's really it. Like, they have so much. There's 2 things, like you said. There's no reason to rush these games out. So now an incident where we had with Starfield that would have released in 2021, and imagine how terrible that would have been then, versus now Redfall that released way too early when it should have released this month, and they would have had everything set, and it probably would have really saved that game. And as far as player retention going forward, let's hope it rebounds. It might, you never know, but I feel like if they'd have had it now, that would have been the thing with everything intact. So you look at stuff like that where games are forced out. They don't have to do that anymore. I think TJ hit it in the chat where he said they have 44 studios. I'm not sure if that's quite the number.
It is. It is 44. It's a total of 44. Now here's the difference. They have 34 named studios, right? Yeah. The other 10 studios are support studios within Blizzard, within Treyarch, within Infinity Ward. That's where the 44 number comes from. But they're actual studios, but they're a part of an Infinity Ward. Infinity Ward, I think, has 4 studios, if I'm not mistaken. I think Treyarch has 2 or 3 just by themselves.
I also think during the acquisition, they purchased one studio that I think was just a support team, and then they also spun out another one. Like, they started up a new studio.
Yes,
that I think it was definitely on the Activision side. I don't remember which of the Call of Duty devs it was, but it was one of them. They started a new one.
Yeah, and so that's my thing too. And somebody put a chart, a little pie chart out, and showed how many employees are over there, right? So
it's a lot.
It's a lot. Like, I imagine there's going to be some redundancies. People probably going to get let go, unfortunately. But I feel like Microsoft could really capitalize. Think about it like this. You got Halo, which is now, by the way, season 5 launching today. I'm going to play some of it before I hit the bed. But you got Halo, which has, had needed a lot of support from studios because they let go of the part-time.
Season 5 looks so freaking good, dude.
It really does. But imagine getting all these different support studios now, and unused devs that are like just kind of there. Because I honestly am I'm having a hard time figuring out what are they doing over there in Blizzard right now. Like, what are y'all doing over there? It's a lot of y'all over there. Like,
a lot of them.
Like 5,000 of y'all up there in Blizzard. Like, what are you doing right now? But so get these helper studios, devs rather, and have them help out on Halo. Have them help out on other games that are being made. I feel like there's so much that could be moved around, and I think cross-pollination, if you will, of these devs on different titles. Yeah, I even think of the initiative and stuff like that. And I know they got Crystal Dynamics still helping them, but I feel like if Microsoft really utilizes all these devs and people they have they're bringing in, that could really help, catapult the development of their games that much more. So but going back to just Activision, me personally, I would love to see a little bit of freedom for some of these support studios. To me, there's no reason why Raven Software should just be a helper studio. I just don't see that. They
did the X-Men Legends
exactly
They did Singularity. They are talented AF, and they should be. What I'm hoping for, folks, and I don't know if you agree with this, Umbra. I would love to see Call of Duty go back to a 3-year schedule.
That's my thing.
Multiplayer has Warzone. They don't need multiplayer. Let that be and what you're saying is perfect. It allows all of these studios to go do weird, crazy, cool things.
Yeah, exactly. Then you go back to other games they did, Ultimate Alliance, like stuff like that is so much more. Like I know Microsoft doesn't really want to get into the whole licensing thing. I think they might need to get out of that mindset though for some of this.
Yes,
Transformers, Hasbro is on deck. They've already come out and said it, like, yes, we want to do this.
What about the 2 Spider-Man games that Beanox did?
Absolutely.
Dimensions. Let me tell you something, folks.
Pretty much every Spider-Man game before Insomniac was an Activision game.
Yeah, but there are 2 specific. Data Dimensions was one of the first ones, and it was about the multiverse before there was a multiverse, even with Miles in films. If again, I don't know what the deal is with Sony and what cards they hold against Marvel, but if they could remake that game, I mean, I'm talking like Resident Evil 2 remake Shattered Dimensions, and that was an Xbox exclusive, folks, that would be mind numbing. And this is just the tip of the spear, what Umber's talking about. But please, sir, continue.
Yeah, and I'll wrap it up because I don't want to hog it up too much. But my whole thing is just to say, because I am kind of droning on, but like I feel like when I hear a lot of this, my brain starts going everywhere because there's so much potential for them to like really take this IP, all this unused and underused IP, and really make profits off of it. Again, you look at stuff like WoW, you look at Hearthstone, you look at, and to me, I said there's so like the lore of WoW, there's so much they could do. They can make full-fledged Elder Scroll-esque RPGs, Western style RPGs. They can make a Diablo-esque type of games with those characters.
That would be pretty dope, dude. That would be pretty dope.
It's too much they could do. They can make MOBAs. They can do so much with that. I personally don't care for MOBAs, but they could do that. But my thing is, there's so much they could do with it. Bringing WoW itself to Xbox is probably going to revitalize it. I think that engine that they use is outdated. Of course it is, but they need to make a modern engine for it and make it, give it fidelity, give it something crazy looking, make it look really solid. That's what I would want. I mean, I'm sure the diehards are like, shut up. So I'm going to be quiet on that. But my thing is, like, there's so much potential here for them to use this IP and really catapult Game Pass and Xbox as the de facto and must have ecosystem. And honestly, I just really hope that Phil and team hunker down with these creatives and say, hey, what can we do here? What would you like to make? What budget are you looking for, and try to allocate that out. I know it's easier said than done because there's so many of those devs and it's so little money that Microsoft is still going to be like, here, take all of this after they just paid 70 billion. So I know it's going to have to be they're going to have to recoup some of that before they just start shelling out much more money. But I feel like, Game Pass is that monster that has to be continuously fed. So I hope that they really utilize that and push these IP that they own.
Yeah, I absolutely do. So real quick before we get you out of here, because C Money had to step away. He has to take an important phone call. He'll be back in about 20 minutes, give or take. We'll go to you next, Daniel. But
he's interviewing to take Pete Hines' role.
The question I have for you is do you ultimately see the market leadership changing in the favor of Xbox for everything that they have done? And when you couple that with, yes, they own Bethesda, yes, their first party studios are hitting on all cylinders, and now they own Activision. What do you think, man? A market leadership change? Oh, Umber, you're on mute, brother. Maybe
I thought you were asking Danny.
Yeah, no, I'm asking you before you get out there.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What was the question again? I'm sorry, Boo.
No, very simply is, do you see the market leadership changing as soon as next year, where PlayStation may not be able to deliver a banger year like they did in 2018, 2019, 2020, and they might have another year like 2023.
It's quite possible because we haven't heard anything outside of these games as a service titles and Wolverine, right? I don't know when Wolverine will drop. If they happen to drop Wolverine next year, then hey, hats off to Insomniac because that's
not happening.
Someone send a search team to Insomniac and make sure they're okay if that game comes out next year.
That's crazy quality for an acquisition for them to have those games come out like that fast, if that's the case, and quality games at that. So I doubt that Wolverine is next year, but if it is, hey, hats off. But you look at the gas titles they have, we already know most of those are going to fail. And I still contend that that's why Jim Ryan ultimately left. I don't think that his plans and Sony's plans aligned all the way. And you saw some of these, we heard rumors and spreads, gossip of devs inside internally not liking that roadmap and saying, hey, we don't want to do this. We don't want to make these types of games. And so I feel like Sony's uncertain right now, but I still think they have enough of market share and enough, customers or customer base that they still will be number one next year. But Microsoft is definitely going to be number two and right on their heels. That much is certain. And even without them doing much change, actually, because they're already basically number two to Sony in between them and Nintendo as far as revenue they bring in, because they only made $1 billion more than Nintendo, which surprised all of us, I'm pretty sure. But so what they made, I think it was like 14 or 16 billion Microsoft was bringing in.
Yep.
Activision itself was bringing 8 billion, so that'll bring them to about 22 whatever plus billion. They'll be second place regardless. So I think it all depends on how COD lands and how that sells, obviously, because this COD here is going to be their first on their
this COD is going to be the lowest reviewed COD,
I'm pretty sure, but it's also going to be also going to be a part of their overall what's the word I'm looking for here. It's going to be
financials.
Thank you. It's going to be part of their financials. So I'm wondering how that's going to stack up to. It's possible. It is possible. I don't think it's impossible. I feel like Spider-Man is only going to do so much for them. I know that they're banking on it. I know it's going to sell well, and they're going to, bundle it up as they do with all the, console sales for the holiday. But I don't think it's going to be enough, considering COD and how much, of gangbusters that thing sells. So I'm interested in seeing how that'll play out too. But I still feel like just because of the market share and customer base that Sony might still pull it out, just if even just by $1 billion or $2 billion.
Well, it's going to be very interesting to see how the companies respond after this amazing year of games, because it is ridiculous this year. Daniel, before we bring you in, brother, let me get your hot take on that question, and of course what we were talking about earlier is how dominant Microsoft is with all of these IPs. I do want to catch up on the super chats. Drawn TJ, generous friend of the program, drops a $5 super chat and says, it's crazy. Xbox owns Halo, Call of Duty and Doom, World of Warcraft, and Elder Scrolls. And that, again, folks, is just the tip of the spear. Those are all legendary gaming franchises, and that's not even like
Fallout.
And that picture you tweeted out, by the way, of like Master Chief and all them.
Yeah.
It was like, man, you do not want to be on the other side of this field. Like you do not want to be staring down this team right now.
Exactly. It's daunting when you consider that how powerful each one of those IPs are, and they're under Xbox Game Studios. It's crazy. As a matter of fact, Captain Chats drops a very generous £5 super chat. And he says this, which of course Colt's show last night was phenomenal as well. He says, what occurred to me last night on Colt Eastwood's show was that Sony are marketing Modern Warfare 3 for a Microsoft game that they now own. This is hilarious to me. Yeah, it's that's why Jim Ryan didn't want to pay for the marketing. He said, why should we pay if we're going to be marketing an Xbox title? He didn't say exclusive, but he said an Xbox title, which of course they own Call of Duty. Kenneth Maynard drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, would love Activision to bring back 007 Bloodstone and Quantum of Solace on backwards compatibility. A new Bond game is at the top of my wish list. Well, there's a couple of things there, Kenneth. You might actually get your wish. there is going to be, I think we're all in agreement here that the backwards compatibility team is going to come back because of this deal. The ABK catalog is just ridiculous. It just so happens that they are working with IO that happens to be working on potentially an exclusive 007 game. Now we don't know it's exclusive for sure, but all you got to do is look at what they did with Indiana Jones, and I would imagine that 007, whatever IO is making, is going to be exclusive. Project Dragon, we don't know, but it's also a potential possibility. And I think that a lot of those licensed IP games, i.e., Spider-Man, if they can get Marvel to work with them, Transformers, Hasbro has already said they want to work with them, and potentially the ownership, and I believe it's MGM that owns 007, which I think now Amazon owns. They potentially would get those games to be backwards compatible, which would be pretty dope. But Daniel, let's talk about this. This is now Xbox, and Xbox Game Studios just added some of the most iconic characters to an already stacked deck. Let's talk about it, man.
Yeah, so I think the first part of the question was about, do I see the mind share or the whatever being taken over,
market leadership,
market share being taken over? I definitely see Xbox making a big step back, like into the arena. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely see them making up a lot of ground. Is, I guess, the better way to say that. I don't necessarily see them overtaking PlayStation. It's going to take some time for them to actually completely turn that around. But we are in a situation where PlayStation put out 3 first-party games this year. One of them launched day one in Game Pass. The other one was a VR game that no one cares about. And then, of course, there's Spider-Man, which is great. Awesome. Everyone loves Spider-Man. And then next year, I don't think we know of anything that's actually first-party that's coming from them. I think the only thing that we have a release date for is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is third-party, and Helldivers 2, which is second-party. So we don't know anything about their first-party for next year. Unless one of those gas games is going to come out next year, which honestly they probably should, considering that before he disappeared off the face of the earth, Jim Ryan was saying that they wanted to have more than 10 out by 2026. Like, if that's going to happen, they're going to have to put at least 2 or 3 out next year. So I guess we can kind of expect that, but we don't have any news. So what I'm saying is, like, just by sheer force of like the amount of games that Xbox is putting out next year as compared to their competition, yeah, I think we almost certainly see them really start to compete in a way that they haven't for a very long time. And I think that's really exciting for everyone. I think that's great. The weight of their catalog alone makes it so that there's almost no way that they can't compete at this point. Like, as long as those teams continue to, even if they change nothing, even if they put out the exact same level of quality and the exact, like, just sequels to the stuff they've already done, just by weight of these 4, I guess, teams working together now, 5 if you count King as a separate thing, working together, like, yeah, we're absolutely going to see Xbox making a comeback in a major way. And I think that's really exciting. The other part of it you were talking about is just like the power of their catalog and like, what does that mean going forward? I think it's great. I think one of the biggest things that, and Umbra already talked about this, is that I want to point out is just, there are probably going to be some people that we see leave Activision Blizzard in the near future. And a lot of the ones that we hear about, at least, are probably going to be higher level people. Because it's going to be a combination of people who want to remain independent, who will spin off, they'll take their money and they'll spin off and go and start their own teams, because that's just what happens with every acquisition. And then also there's going to be some people who probably step away before they get fired, because it's probably going to be a lot of the people who were involved in, like, Cosby Room type stuff, right? Because I bet there's still a lot of those people working there, and they're going to get found out real fast. Like, so I would not be shocked at all if shortly after the announcement, if like in the next couple weeks or months, if we start seeing maybe a large number of people, because I mean, it is like, what, 14,000 employees over at ABK, so there might be like, I think between redundancies and people leaving for not wanting to get fired for being terrible people reasons, I think that we might see as many as like 100 people leave Activision in the next little while, maybe a little bit more.
He froze. There he is. Okay.
Sorry. So we're definitely going to see people leaving, is just all I'm saying. And then so there's going to be a lot of work that has to be done. One of the things that I also wanted to point out is just, I know that there's some people, not to call King to the floor, but I think he fell into his 2% wrong category when he was saying that they're not going to do anything with the people who are working on Call of Duty right now. And the only reason that I think that is because they've already said that like multiple times, and I've never known Phil Spencer to not be good to his word. So I think that we're almost certainly seeing that, especially since we already knew that they were doing that before the Activision deal was even announced. Like we know which Call of Duty dev is it that's working on like an RPG right now? Is that Treyarch? Like,
okay, so there's the rumor that was put out there by a notorious Call of Duty rumor monger who has actually got like a stoppage talking about it from Activision, a cease and desist letter, which then maybe he was onto something. Was the rumor is that Infinity Ward and Treyarch separately are working on
different titles,
an open world Mass Effect level type of first person shooter in space. Now, is that the same project? I don't know. That is what was put out there. And if that in fact is the case, that is huge because that is a new IP.
Yeah. So we know that we hope that they're doing that, right? Like we've heard that rumor for a while now. So we already know there's people being taken off. We also already know, because this was also talked about before the acquisition, was just like they had already been talking about going biannual and just having longer tails on these games because it just made more sense financially, because they make all their money off the microtransactions anyway. It makes more sense to put out a game every other year and then just like support it for a longer term and get more money on that back end. So I think that's what we're going to see. And as a part of that, I think there's going to be a lot of people who maybe if it was still under Activision or still under Bobby would have been fired. But in this case, I think we'll be allowed to spin off and make their own things. So I think that's really exciting. I think we are absolutely going to see a lot of teams working on things that they either haven't been allowed to before or working on brand new IP that they have been thinking about for a long time. I think it's a really good idea. So I'm excited for that. That's my biggest excitement. It's just like the people at Activision Blizzard, A, getting treated better, and B, being allowed to do the things that they actually, because we know that those are two big tenets in Microsoft's sort of video game library. Like it's one of those situations where like Microsoft, was it this year Microsoft was named like the best place to work or something? It was like the best company in the world or something.
Yes.
And like those are two big reasons why. They're big supporters of unions. They let their people really feel heard and take care of their people. Like that's the long short of it. In terms of what I want them to do going forward, I think the number one thing, and Phil, if you're listening, this is a free one for you. I won't charge you. You're probably already thinking about it. Just bring back StarCraft Ghosts. Just have one. Just have when Coalition puts out. So first of all, just do StarCraft 3. Do the RTS because you're trying to break into the Asian market. It's huge over there. Everyone loves it. Do a StarCraft 3, right? And then as soon as Coalition is done with Gear 6, which presumably they're working on right now, like I think we've heard that they probably are. I don't know, whatever. As soon as they're done with that, just be like, hey, Coalition, do you want to maybe do like a trilogy of StarCraft Ghost games? Best PR you're ever going to get is bringing back that game from the depths of cancellation. Like that is one of the most famous canceled games of all time. That is a free goodwill boost to every single person at Activision, and especially for Xbox. And honestly, y'all kind of need it over in the Activision camp because they haven't been getting a lot of good news over the last couple of years. So true. It's probably going to be a great game. Like Coalition making anything in the StarCraft universe, especially. I mean, even if they just take the base idea of what StarCraft Ghost looked like it was going to be, like it's 100% like the best thing that I think they could do.
I would 100% trust Coalition to do it. 100%.
It's, I mean, you got to remember what Danny is asking for is a game known as the largest piece of vaporware in the history of gaming. StarCraft Ghost was supposed to release on the N64 two decades ago, and it would be pretty crazy to take that IP that doesn't exist and give it to something like the Coalition and say, listen, if this game takes 5 years, no one cares because no one's expecting it. And they make the potential, the possibility of what Microsoft and Xbox can do with their IPs outside of what we already know is on the way what we've heard on that's being worked. Gear 6 is going to happen, right? We know that.
Facts.
I've heard some crazy things about Gear 6 that is going to blow your mind if it comes to fruition. The DLC that came out for the Gears, the Hive Busters, you don't think those characters are going to get a sequel? The Hive Busters is amazing, right? And again, all of this is just the tip of the iceberg. The deal just got done last Friday, on Friday the 13th, which is like the day you'll never forget. Outside of Jason Voorhees, you'll never forget that Microsoft now owns Call of Duty.
I don't know. It's a run for his money now. Then this is just Phil might just be the guy that you see under the mask going forward.
He very well, yeah. And what's scary? What's even more scary. See money. And before I get to you, Daniel, anything you want to add on the back end to close out your outstanding breakdown of the ABK deal and Microsoft potentially becoming the market leader?
Yeah. So the big question that everyone is sort of floating around now is what's next, and I do think, and we do know that this isn't the last acquisition that they're going to make.
1,000%.
And I don't like really have great speculations right now into what's next. I'm probably going to make a video out of it at some point. But I do think that they probably take a step back from publishers for a little while. They just spent 2 years just caving in the heads of every trade federation across the planet. So they did a lot of work, and they probably need to take a break and go hang out in Cancun or whatever lawyers do in their off years. So I don't necessarily think that we'll see like a big acquisition in 2024. Maybe some like smaller teams, probably ones that they've already worked with, like an Asobo or something. But I do think we're going to see a little bit of a cooling on acquisitions just for a little while. Like, don't expect anything for the rest of the year. And if we get stuff next year, I think it'll be single studio pickups. I think it'll be in Asobo. Maybe if they can get like a BioWare out of EA, that'd be great. I don't see it happening also because like at this point, really all that you're buying BioWare for would be like the name and the IP, because the people who used to do good stuff there are gone. But BioWare has a huge history with Xbox, obviously. Like I just started playing Jade Empire, great game. For the first time.
Phenomenal.
And like that was an Xbox exclusive. Mass Effect 1 and KOTOR both Xbox exclusives. So like definitely there's a couple of teams like that I think they would probably scoop up before they go for something like a Sega. Although I do think they're still got their eyes on a Sega. But it's going to be a minute.
Too. You know, it's crazy, Danny. It's like and guys, it's kind of like at the point now. And I'm greedy as hell, as you know, Boom. But
greedy Umbra, just like greedy Boom, it's fine. It's
exactly.
Fine.
But now we're kind of at that point now with all the studios they have. It's like, do they need to maybe they need to work on getting those games focused now? Like now we're at the point now with so many devs and studios they own that buying more devs is the least of our worries or their worries, especially because now all they got to do is focus on getting those good games out there, and they got way too many to not get them out.
They have a lot, you know. To that point,
regardless.
Don't
forget that they hired the person to focus on acquiring new people midway throwing the Activision thing. So if you think that this is going to be a cooling process, it's not. They're lining them. I wouldn't be surprised if they've already bought single studios that are beneath the threshold that they don't have to announce.
Right,
just like
which I think is gonna you'll see potentially some point at beginning of next year. I said this to everyone this morning. Again, I don't have any connections where I can tell you this is fact. It's just my opinion. I think that in the next 6 months they're going to acquire 6 additional studios. I know what those studios are. You got the IOs, you got the Asobos, you got the Crystal Dynamics, you got the Eidos Montreal.
That's a good point. I do think that they also probably pick up Crystal and Eidos just to protect their interest there, because
I just think
they're both working on major first party
and Embracer's falling apart. So they
should.
I can fully see them doing that.
Yeah, they absolutely should get them.
They should do a fan fest this year and do the same thing they did in 2019 and announce the smaller studios that they picked up.
When's BlizzCon? Is that
That'd be a beautiful thing?
I feel like
BlizzCon?
I don't know when that is, but I feel like
November 3rd. It's like soon.
That's like real soon.
I just feel like
one of the studios I think they've already picked up because they
Iron Galaxy
for killing us 100%, because there was actually a story that we're going to do. I think it's going to be Thursday's show regarding an article that Jez Corden of Windows Central put out there about the potential of so many of the Activision characters making their way into the next Killer Instinct, which is being remade. They're rebranding. They're going to reboot the series under Iron Galaxy, who said that they have incredible plans for the next 10 years of Killer Instinct. So
yeah, well, if they bought Iron Galaxy, they would also get with it Adam Boyes of PS4 fame. He was the guy.
Yes.
He was the guy who was not Shuhei Yoshida in the "This Is How You Share."
Adam Boyes.
Games on
Adam
PlayStation.
Boyes is
Adam Boyes.
He's
I think the president of Iron Galaxy or something right now. Like he's one.
And
of
again, that might just mean that we see somebody else leave
Yeah,
after
maybe.
they get a check.
But it'd be really funny.
No, he was there for it for the Killer Instinct time. I mean, they really they did an amazing job. Their 2 seasons there, and they just did an update. Go check it out. They did an update, 10-year anniversary update. Listen, it's going to be very exciting. But listen, C Money, let's bring you in on the conversation. And quite frankly, it take it any way you want. What you saw on the thumbnail is this is now Xbox. Crazy that they have those types of characters. And again, just the tip of the spear. I keep saying this, and I hope we will it into existence, Umbra. We have been saying, all of us, that they need their own hero type of open world adventure. And nothing fits that perfectly than Prototype, which is a classic Activision IP that they now own. If they could bring that back and remake the original or reboot it, however you want to do it, take your 5 years, it would be monster to have you run it on Unreal Engine 5. Of course, Umbra will appreciate that. And you just get it out there and you let the team go to work on it. And again, that's the thing. There's no rush to put these games out, C Money, because they have so many freaking studios. It's crazy. And so many games. 2024, 25, and 26 for Xbox are going to be a stacked deck, even without Call of Duty, just on their own first-party studios. Let's talk about it, man. How do you see a market leader change happening as soon as next holiday, or am I jumping the gun here?
I mean, this is the thing. I believe by the end of this generation, the tables would have turned, and Xbox will be the dominant platform. Not necessarily console sales, but platform, right? So between their console sales, between their PC Game Pass, regular Game Pass, like people who are paying to be part of the Xbox ecosystem, that number is going to surpass PlayStation's by the end of the generation. It's going to flip. It's going to be the same thing as the Xbox 360 generation. Xbox 360 came out strong. By the end, PlayStation actually won the generation for all intents and purposes. I think we'll be there again by the end of this one. It's just flipped. PlayStation started out strong. Xbox, there's just no stopping this force that has been created, right? Like unless the only way that doesn't happen going forward is if we find out that the only real gamers that ever existed were already on the Xbox platform and everybody else were just ponies sucking on the teat of a PlayStation plastic box. Okay. Outside of that, there's absolutely no way, with the monumental amount of video games that Xbox is going to be producing for free to Game Pass subscribers on a yearly basis, that if you're a actual gamer who actually cares about playing games and not playing Twitter, there's no way that the masses don't move over to Xbox during the course of the rest of this generation. I don't think it's going to be in a year or two, but over the course of the next 3-4 years, what are we in 2023? They say what, 2027 or 2028? So you're talking between 4 and 5 years from now, we will have seen the narrative shift, and it's going to be done. And that is why they cannot stop buying companies. They can't stop buying studios because of the quality bar that they're looking to hit. You got to remember, having all these studios is great, but you need to be able to look at that roadmap and say, okay, this game is not where it needs to go. So even though we were planning to release it by the end of this year, push it to next. We got this game over here that is ready to go. We'll take that spot. Like, you want to have that massive flexibility. And, you got to remember, right this second, you're not running into a bunch of new games that are going to be dropping from Activision Blizzard ASAP. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're being purchased, and now these studios will start to be free. And you're talking 3, 4, 5 years from now that we're going to see the bulk of what Activision Blizzard actually represents to the Xbox, ecosystem. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to take a little time for these studios to make these games. So you do have to go ahead and grab some of these studios who are, mid-game, go ahead, do the purchase, swap them over to Xbox exclusive, and getting them to where we can get these games coming relatively soon. I mean, we know right now we do have Xbox Game Studio games that are going to be, cranking it. We know we have some Bethesda games that are going to be coming over the course of the next year. So we have games, but you still want to fill that pipeline out so that there is no, there's no chance that you can't deliver on quality. Because if you see something not hitting the bar, I don't believe Phil will ever look at something and be like, you know what, that's good enough, get this out. I think we're going to be in for a situation where we end up, with Phil being the way he is, where he's letting studios make the games that they want to make, right? That freedom is amazing, because that's going to bring us some of the best games ever made, because you have studios being able to produce the best content with the budget and the backing that they don't have to stress about. They just have to worry about delivering a good game. And if the studio is high quality, which these studios are, they'll deliver. At the same time, that bar is going to be there for them. So if you're given freedom by our boy Phil, who says, listen, my man, make the game,
do what you want.
Make what you want. If you don't deliver, that is going to change things. Yes. Because if you're given the flexibility to make what you want, money's not the object. Do what you got to do. You sold us a dream. We like it. We accept your pitch. Go make that. If what you make does not produce the way it's supposed to and the quality level's not there, then these studios might get relegated to just support studios or something else. And he's going to have that flexibility to move people around if they're not capable of delivering in this landscape. Right? Again, it's easy to say, oh, Hellblade, the first one was so good, and you accept the flaws that they came with because, it's like 20 people, it's a small game. So even though it's an amazing game, there are things about it that you're like, all right, it's not that big of a deal. If they had a bigger budget, that probably wouldn't exist. Well, now's their time, right? So if Ninja Theory comes out, they're ready. Let's not forget, they came out with Bleeding Edge. Okay, that game came out early in the life.
It failed. That's fine.
It failed. It failed miserably, right? So, okay, cool. Now you got this chance, Hellblade 2. We've given you as much time as you possibly needed. We've given you every ounce of resources that we have. If they come out with a game and it's out here getting 6s and not IGN 6s, you understand? IGN doesn't matter. But I'm talking about like the people who are rating Starfield 9s and 10s. If they turn around and they're rating this game 6s, like a Redfall scenario that took place, right? That's going to change the situation, right? Like it's like a gift and a curse. You know what I'm saying? You have the freedom to do what you want and do it well. But if your best is not good enough anymore because you've dropped the ball or something, you're going to be in a tight situation. So they want to have this constant, growth that they're making with studios, giving these teams to make the best games that they ever can, but they got to come correct, right? So I think they're going to keep growing. They're going to keep moving the ball forward. And again, under Phil, I think these studios know that they have to deliver a certain quality bar. It's not about sales. It's not about any of that bullshit. They don't care. They just want the high score. So when you look at you say, oh my God, look at that high scoring game. I'm going to go get Game Pass, and I'm going to keep Game Pass because another high scoring game came out and another one came out. Right now, again, take the Metacritic out of it because IGN is always going to tank Xbox's Metacritic.
GameSpot is going to do it.
PC Gamer,
and PC Game Mag or whatever they're called.
Yeah, all these garbage outlets are going to tank the meta. But as long as they can go ahead and put a graphic out like they did for Starfield that showed 54 reviews, 9s and above, you know what I'm saying? Like that's the type of thing that they're going to be interested in, right?
Yeah.
So they have to be able to make whatever they make, it has to be critically well received. Again, like a Bethesda situation, right? They bought Bethesda knowing that their games don't necessarily sell, but the critical numbers were always there, right? Outside of the games as service nonsense that they started doing at the end. So Phil, you said it before, Boom, and we've said it before, but Phil's a new man.
Yeah.
He's a new man. He is well aware after seeing how Redfall played out. This is not something that he's going to accept.
Nope.
And we know that even though Phil's kumbaya in front of us, he's been kumbaya in front of us. We know those emails, those leaked documents, all that stuff. We know Phil's a gangster. Okay.
Yeah, he's a killer. Phil's a killer.
Yeah. This is his motto. Don't want none, won't be none. Right. So if you go ahead and you deliver what you're supposed to deliver, you're fine. Phil's cool with you. But if you're going to go ahead and slack or not deliver what you're supposed to, then you're going to see a different side of Phil. And I think ultimately that's what Pete saw. And that's why Pete was like, I ain't taking this shit no more. And I'm out. Right. Because he's like, I'm old. I've been here long enough. I don't want to deal with this. I'm gone. And this is the thing. Phil needs to do that because right now is a huge inflection point for Xbox. Xbox is at the best position that it will ever be in its entire life, in the future, in the past. This moment right now is the best shot it ever had to go ahead and make a change in this industry. If Xbox can't capitalize now with high quality games that are consistently released and critically well received on a constant basis, then there's nothing else for them to do. And they'll never get this idea of Sony being the best console out there or the best publisher out there. They'll never be able to change that if they don't strike now over these next few years. As these games are coming out, they have to all deliver. If they're not, and you find these weak points, it's going to be the same narrative and it's going to be the same bull. So this is the time. And I think Phil understands that. I think Phil knows that. He already said it. He said they lost the worst possible console generation you could have lost with the Xbox One generation. He knows that it's time to regroup and build and make sure that when he goes into the next one, it's money.
Yeah, listen, it's. I know that we have someone in the chat, Max Mini, PlayStation dude. That's awesome. You're welcome. Some of your thoughts, I appreciate them, but you know, if you're don't hang your hat on Microsoft is banking on Game Pass. Game Pass is Microsoft. Xbox is Game Pass. That's the model. Eventually, Sony's going to have to bend the knee or be on their knees. And like King said, maybe they become a publisher, because when you start hitting Game Pass with south of midnight, and you start hitting it with Fable and Avowed and the next Forza Horizon and Call of Duty and whatever Activision has on the back
and Indiana
end.
Jones and
Indiana
Clockwork
Jones,
Revolution.
It's
and Spyro, the next Spyro, the next Crash.
For your $17 a month, it is you're not going to be able to afford not to be a part of Xbox Game Pass. And yes, Sony can bank on selling consoles. Face reality, dude, they don't make a lot of money. Consoles is not where they make their money. And third-party marketing deals that you're talking about how they made so much money on, they could bank on that. Well, their number one player is gone. They're not going to make the same money for Call of Duty that they once did, because for $17 you can get it on Xbox Game Pass, and the casual audience will move. Sony is, like I said numerous times, in a pickle. They're not the same beast. They have been defanged. They're in first place now because they're in first place. That is not going to last forever. I see that change happening. But look, let me catch up on the last two super chats, and then we'll get everyone out of here. Drawn TJ drops not one but two super chats. The first one of $2. He says the Coalition makes a true crime game in Unreal Engine 5. That would be crazy good.
That'd be beautiful.
Drawn TJ drops an additional $5 super chat and says, go buy Criterion games. They have made Need for Speed and Burnout. They would be a good at making a Blur reboot. They have the two
Criterion
best.
just got acquired by somebody else.
They did, didn't they? Yeah,
EA sold them.
Was it
Yeah,
EA that bought them?
EA owned
EA
Criterion.
has bought them years ago.
Oh,
Criterion,
yeah.
yeah. The Microsoft has Turn 10 Studios, and they already have Playground Games. They don't need another car maker. What they need to do is let Toys for Bob make a kart racing game with Xbox and Activision, Blizzard, and Bethesda characters, and that would rule. But let's get everyone out of here. This has been a great show. We went well over 700 people here, which is amazing. A lot of new names. If you're finding the channel for the first time, please consider subscribing. We're on the hunt for 14K, and it would be pretty dope to have you subscribe, hit the like button on your way out, and potentially be a generous gamer and hit the bell icon so every time we go live, you know about it. And I do this Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, all different panels, all different shows, but we never sell hate or hate monger to get you to like or click it. We'll start with Umbra because he's exhausted. He's got to get to sleep. Umbra, let's sell your brand, brother. Talk about the fix, where you're going to be with Danny this Thursday, where they can subscribe, keep you guys trucking on maybe 2K, 3K by the end of the year, and more importantly, where can people reach out to you on social media?
Yes, good show, guys. Good talk. I am very tired. I do want to get the update downloaded for Halo.
I'm doing that right now. Look, I have my dope ass Elite controller, and yes, thanks to Kia Walker in the chat. He's like, that's updating.
Nice.
Forza Motorsport is updating as well. There was an update for Forza, but I'm going to be playing the H out of Season 5, which looks dope. And Umbra, those Halo 3 maps, oh
yeah.
my God,
that Mountain Dew pack thing that they were doing. I like that.
Yes.
Brings back memories. By the way, Halo 3 is my favorite in the franchise.
It was. Yeah. Infinite has surpassed it for me.
Infinite definitely has the better overall feel. There's no question. Yeah. But 3 just holds a special place in my heart. But anyhow, you all can know where you can find me. Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite on Twitter, X or whatever they call that thing now. And of course, this week on the fix, more than likely we're going to be focused on, of course, on the ABK thing too. But I do want to try to mix it up because we were supposed to talk about like anime and things of that nature in the show we were supposed to watch through. Just kind of a little distracted because I had a loss in the family. But
sorry to hear that, brother.
Thank you,
damn, man. That's my total.
Appreciate it. But other than that, man, yeah, as far as the gaming goes, of course, I'm going to be playing some of this Season 5 of Halo. I played it, believe it or not, I played a bit of the Modern Warfare 3 beta. I played a match with that, and it was kind of fun. But that's the first I've touched multiplayer in COD in decades. Like, I do not care for COD multiplayer, but so I enjoyed that, and I'm feeling good because I know that game and other Call of Duties will be coming to Game Pass. So yeah, I'll be playing plenty more of that soon enough. And yeah, I got a few other games I got to get through. It's too much. And it also Dragon Ishin dropped today on Game Pass today as well, guys, if you all didn't know. So I mean, crazy good year for Xbox. Honestly.
It's one of the best years probably in the company's history. As long as Xbox has been around, they've been around for 23 years. And this is probably the greatest year it's hitting on all cylinders.
Yep.
And if you're not a part of Xbox, shame on you. Try something.
You're lost. If you're not a part of it now, you eventually will be. Like we talked about with the whole Call of Duty thing. It's only so long you're going to hold out, and so long before these other games start hitting continuously, where you're going to be like, yeah, I'm not going to pay $70 over here on Sony when I can just get Game Pass. But there is the link to the channel there. If you all have not subscribed to us, please do so. We would appreciate you guys coming by on Thursdays at 8 o'clock Eastern and give us a view on the fix. Thank you guys for being here.
Absolutely, brother. You're doing great work over there. Daniel, let's sell not only the fix, but let's sell your brand as well. You have an amazing YouTube channel. You've done a lot of rewriting of the DCEU, which of course is being changed already from James Gunn. By all means, you've put out your How to Fix Halo. You've put out a bunch of really, really good long form content. Talk about it. Where can people subscribe to your YouTube channel? And more importantly, reach out to you on social media?
Yeah, so you can reach me on Twitter at Daniel J. McG or at my personal YouTube channel of Daniel McG, which I just posted in the chat for anybody who's here. We're getting real close to 800 subscribers. I'm at 770.
Nice.
So I would like to hit 800 before the end of the year, and I think it's pretty doable. I think it's really doable, actually.
Oh, absolutely, dude.
Definitely.
Just put out a video last week about sort of the legacy that Jim Ryan is leaving behind. Spoilers, not a good one. And I'm currently working on my Starfield review because I want to get that out before I have most of this week off. After I work tomorrow, and I have the rest of the week off, and I'm going to use that exclusively to write the next issue of my DCU rewrite. So wish me luck. I think it's going to take like probably 2 full days to get it done, but we're doing it. So got a lot of things coming out there, hopefully pretty soon. So come on by.
Nice. Shout out to Truly in the chat, who was reminding us in all caps, and you should do that because why wouldn't you? Dead Space remake in Xbox Game Pass coming in October, which is really dope. Great remake, phenomenally done. I'm like 3/4 through it. It's one of the games I just didn't finish. I got to get to it. It's phenomenal. I don't know how my top 10 is going to look this year, but it's going to be very difficult to get a top 10 going. But last in no way least, C Money. First of all, I didn't see the missus in the chat. If she was there and I missed her, I apologize. Doodle is awesome. Okay. And one half of the dynamic duo known as C Money and Family. They have a very unique podcast that I think that you need to check out because they do it as a family, and it's pretty dope, especially when you see that they have their opinions, but they also bring in their kids' opinion, which are a little bit younger, obviously, but it's pretty cool. And they do a lot of weekly content. You can wake up Monday morning to start the week off with him and the missus and a bunch of other stuff. Tell us about it, C Money. Where can people subscribe? And more importantly, reach out to you on social media.
Oh man, Boom. Thank you so very much. Dan, Umbra, it's a pleasure. Love being on the show with you guys. Thanks again for having me all.
Same, brother.
Yeah, C Money is my name, and you guys can go ahead and follow me on Twitter right when you look at the screen. It's right there at C Money Forever. That's me, so you can follow me there. Yeah, we have a channel On Point for Gaming. It's a channel I run with my wife and my older kids. And yeah, we have 4 shows that we do a week. Boom's right. Monday is our morning quest show. It's 9 a.m. Eastern time. It's me and Doodle just kind of talking about gaming, starting the week off right, and having a fun conversation with the chat. Very chat focused, so it's definitely a good time. You should definitely come check that out. Today is a huge day for us. It's our guest day. We have a show called Her, Him, and a Guest. And every week we have somebody on and we interview them and have a fun time. Today's a huge day because this is going to be our first time ever where we are actually having 2 different shows happening same day. So you got at 4 p.m. Eastern, we're going to have our man Jay Fonzarelli. He's going to be joining us. We're going to have an awesome show with him. It's going to be dope. Definitely come by, show him some love. And then at 7 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to have our boy Karim Jovian. Nice. He's a huge YouTuber and he's huge guy. And he's looking to get into gaming much more. So we're excited to talk with him and kind of see what he has going on. So that's going to be fun at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So it's a double header. Come for one, stay for the other is going to be great.
2 for 1 special.
That's it, man. That's it. It's going to be a fun time.
Love it.
And then we'll be back on Thursday with our gaming podcast, On Point, the gaming podcast. We'll just keep it super simple. And that's the one that's with myself, Doodle, and our eldest son, Madman. So we have a great time there. And then we end the week with On Point Anime and Beyond, where we talk about anime and TV, movies, anything pop culture. So that show's on Friday. That's at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Our gaming podcast on Thursday is at 5 p.m. Eastern time. And I do just want to shout out because we have it it's coming up relatively soon in 2 weeks. The last Thursday of the month, we're having our gaming podcast changes for the last day of the month, the last Thursday of the month, to On Point, the end of the month block party, where we have a bunch of people come on the show. We have a dope ass lineup for this month already. Boom's gonna be stopping by at some point.
Yep.
We have King David, we have Mav, Web Dave, Retchy. We got a bunch of people who are gonna be stopping by. So definitely come and be subscribed for that, because that's gonna be fun. I'm gonna drop the link in the chat, so definitely come. We did just cross 11K, so I do appreciate that. We're on a roll to 12K, 100 at a time, man. We got to get to 11-1. Let's do it. Also, last thing, just a food for thought for everybody out there. PlayStation, okay, 20% of Call of Duty allowed them to make all of their bangers that they make. Imagine what Xbox is going to do with the 70 that they get to keep now.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
All right. Just remember that.
And that's just Call of Duty money. We're not talking about
That's
King.
just Call of Duty money. Remember, without
Candy,
that money,
PlayStation
PlayStation would not survive. 70% is going to Xbox now, baby. Let's see what
Candy
comes.
Crush only made 20 billion since existence, and that's now first party. So there you go. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for checking out the show. Hopefully you enjoyed it enough to hit the like button, subscribe, and more importantly, hit the bell icon on your way out. A big thank you to all of the super chats and the channel members that continue to join. It really does help the channel in really, really big ways. And of course, we dole out numerous big giveaways. We did a $500 one last 2 weeks ago. We have another one coming up the first week of November for Mrs. Boom's birthday bash. That is going to be $500, $10, $50 gift cards. And all you got to do to win is be in the chat. And of course, the big show, the biggest one we've ever done. We are giving away for the 6th annual Christmas with Mr. and Mrs. Boomstick. That is at the end of, as we get closer to the holidays, we're giving away $1,500 worth of prizes, 10 $100 gift cards, as well as 2 grand prizes of 2 $250 gift cards. And folks, we're a mom and pop organization that's not being sponsored by anyone. That's the super chats. That is the channel memberships. We tuck them away after Google gets their 30%. And we do these big giveaways because we want to give back to the community in the biggest way possible. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, folks. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say this: Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, Craig, I can guarantee you you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.